everybody. Missed class this week for the first chapter of Word. I've got the flu, so I'm getting over the flu right now. So there's a very good chance I'm going to be hacking a few times on this video. I apologize for that in advance. Um, but I did want to go ahead and I want to keep us on schedule as much as I can because we've got a lot to get through, and I want to try to cover as much in class as I possibly can. Unfortunately, this happened when we're starting a brand new application, or actually our first application, which is Word. Um, but I want to go ahead and get something started for Chapter 1 because I want us to continue on the schedule, and we'll do Chapter 2 just as we're scheduled to do. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Word in general, and then we'll get into like the first part of Module 1. So if I just open up Word, it's going to open up a brand new instance of Word, and it opened up on the wrong screen. But if I open up Word, I get it opens up to this, and these are like some templates that I can choose, and there's a bunch of different templates that I could select if I wanted to here. It's like these are business templates. Here's some personal templates. I don't know what that's going to lead to. But there's a bunch of different templates. But like if you're going to write a paper or something like that, you're probably just going to start off with a blank document. And this will take you to this screen here, probably, depending on the view. Down here at the bottom, you'll see that there are like 3 different views. There's read mode, print layout view, and web layout view. Read is, if I just look at it right now, I don't have anything to show, but what it is it makes a document easier to read. It's not going to print that way or anything. It's really just for reading the document. Web layout is the way it would look on a web page. There's no real margins because if you increase or decrease the size of your window, your text will scroll and get bigger or smaller. Well, the text won't get bigger or smaller, but your margins will get bigger or smaller as you increase or decrease the size of the page. The one that you're going to deal with mostly is this one right in the middle. It's called print layout, and it just shows what it looks like on a piece of paper. I mean, this just shows you the way it's going to look when it's printed. So this is just like a regular, well, I say 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but you can change that to be, a 8.5 by 14 or something like that. Now, these rulers, these are not on by default. If you don't have rulers on, you can go into View and then click this little button that says Ruler, and that's going to turn rulers on for you. And what the rulers will do is this will give you these rulers that are along the left hand side and along the top here, and they show you your margins. So this gray area here and here and over here on this side at the top, and there's another one down here at the bottom, this shows you your margins for your piece of paper. So again, we're dealing with an 8.5 piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. So I've got an inch margin on the left and an inch margin on the right. Also on the top and bottom, I've got an inch on the top and an inch on the bottom. So it's an inch all the way around all 4 sides, which is pretty much that's your standard APA style. Says you should have an inch margin all the way around. MLA, same thing. So this you won't change much. You may have to some days, but if you need to, you can do it here. You can grab hold of these little sizing handles, or these little I don't want to call them sizing handles, but these little margins, and you can change it there. But I'll show you a different way as we get later on into Word. But this is a piece of paper. Let me go back to the home ribbon. Let's talk about these ribbons for a little bit. Most of what we do is going to be dealing with the home ribbon, especially at least in this first module. The instructions for Word are broken up, or not the instructions, but the commands are broken up in these tabs. So you have the home tab, you have the insert tab, and what you do is you think, okay, if I wanted to insert a picture, which tab would I hit? I would hit the insert tab. If I wanted to do a some sort of in-text citation, which tab would I hit? Well, that would probably be references. So these tabs are broken up, or the instructions are broken up into these little tabs, and you just click whichever tab you want, and that's going to change the ribbon that you're looking at. Right now I'm looking at the home ribbon. If I click on the insert ribbon, that changes. And each of these ribbons is broken apart into sections. Here's my clipboard section, here's my font section, my paragraph section, the style section. If I go into insert, same thing as before. I got pages, tables, illustrations, add-ons. So there's these ribbons will give you different commands depending on what you need to do. So you just need to figure out what it is you're trying to do, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for in these tabs. Now, for the most part, you're going to be dealing with the home ribbon. The home ribbon is kind of your go-to. It's got most of the commands that you're going to use constantly. It's got things like clipboard, which you, of course, you use all the time. Your fonts, which it gives you your different fonts that you can choose from, all of these different fonts. The size of the fonts, bold, italicized, underline, those kinds of things. Hit next group over, you have your paragraph group, which gives you your things like bulleted lists, which each bullet would be a paragraph. Left align, center, right align, those kinds of things. So now let me talk a little bit about the two kinds of formatting that we're going to do in Word. There's character formatting, and then there's paragraph formatting. Character formatting are things that you can do to a character. Paragraph formatting are things that you do to a paragraph. So let me okay, I have a dog. Her name is Fable, and that's a true fact. All right, so I'm going to zoom in on this a little bit just so we can see it a little bit better. So this is I just typed this sentence. Now, when I hit enter, what I've done is I've created a paragraph. Now, this is just a 2-sentence paragraph, but what I want you guys to understand is what a paragraph is defined as Word. When you're in your English class, your paragraph is defined as a group of sentences, probably about 4 sentences minimum. It has a introduction, has a body, and it has a conclusion. And that's good in your English class. Remember it. Don't forget it. In Word, a paragraph is anything up until you hit enter. Now, something that you should do if you're just starting to get used to using Word is there's this little button here, and you're going to see it come into play in just a second. This little button here is called the Show Hide button, and what this does, when I turn it on, is it turns on non-printing characters. And so now, if you look at these sentences that I just wrote, I have a dog, her name is Fable. It's like in between each word, you see where I have a space, there's actually a dot now, and it just shows you that the dot. And so, like if I just go here, and if I hit dot, the space bar a bunch of times, you'll see that there's dots that pop in. So what this does is this shows you any non-printing characters that are out there, so that if you need to figure out what's going on, like again, I'll show you a little bit more about this in a second. This is a really cool trick. Now, again, getting back to character formatting and paragraph formatting, character formatting are things that you can do to a character. So like I could take the D in dog, whoops, not that way. I could take the D in dog, and I could make it some sort of crazy font there. And I could make it red. And I could make it really big. So I did that to a character. I can do different things to different characters. So that's a character format. And in order to change a character format, you have to select it. Or you can turn that character on before you type it. So in other words, like if I'm going to go back down to give me a blank line again, I could go down and I could say, okay, I want what I get ready to type to have, give me some sort of, this kind of a font here, Kessler. I want it to be 36 point. I want it to be blue, and I want it to be bold and underlined. So I just turn all this stuff on, and now when I type this, it's gonna affect whatever I type. So there's two different ways you can do this. You can change and then type, or you can type and then change. But so if you change, you got to change everything ahead of time and then type whatever you want to type, or you could type what you want to type, select what you want to change, and then make the changes that you want to make. It's just by selecting your stuff up here. So that's character formatting. Now, let me go back here. Let's get rid of this stuff. This thing is back to normal. Okay. Paragraph formatting are things that just... I'm going to make this 2 different lines just so we have 2 sentences. Paragraph formatting are things that you can do to a paragraph. So I can make a paragraph. In other words, I have a dog. I could say I want to center this paragraph. Now, the trick with paragraph formatting is that paragraph formatting only affects that paragraph. So I don't necessarily have to select it. I just got to have my insertion point somewhere in it. So here's this paragraph that I already typed. Now again, well, let me show you this. I got this thing already typed. I'm going to hit the center button and it's going to, whoops. I'm going to hit the center button and it's going to center that paragraph for me. Told you I'd be hacking. So that affects just that paragraph. Now, if I wanted to do multiple paragraphs, like I could select, both of these, and I'll talk about selecting here in a second too. I can select both of these, and I can center them both, and that's going to come into play. All right, so let me bring in something that's got some text already in it. So we'll minimize this, and then I'm going to drag this over. If you copied the files, like I asked you to off of the NAS drive in class, if you copy those to your USB drive, you'll have this. It's in the Chapter 1 class. It's in the class folders, class files for for Module 1. All right, so this is just the text, and I'm gonna show you how to manipulate this to do the document later on. But here's the text for Chapter 1. We're going to manipulate this and create a flyer out of it. But I created this, and it looks weird because it is. I don't have the show hide turned on, and I want to show you this because if you look at this document, you're like, okay, it's a bunch of text on a piece of paper. There's this looks like it's centered. Looks like I've got a half of a first line indent on this one. Then I got another, it looks like it went down another line. I've got this big empty here. I don't know why that happened. Probably just hit enter a bunch of times. So we don't really know why any of this is the way it is. But here's what happens. If I hit this show hide button, you're going to see that I was crazy when I typed this thing. So if I turn this on, boom. Now I can see that this thing is nuts. I mean, it's crazy. This isn't really centered. All I did was hit the space bar a bunch of times until it looks like it's centered. Then here, this thing here, anytime you see one of these things, that just means that I hit enter. So it's like at the end of every paragraph, I'm going to hit enter. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to type surfs up and then hit enter. And then I wanted a blank line, so I just hit enter. And then down here, rather than creating a first line indent, I just hit spacebar a bunch of times until I got this, whatever this is, this indentation of this. Now another thing to notice about this is here's an actual paragraph. It scrolls down from one line to another, so you don't have to. If you ever use a typewriter, a real typewriter in your life, with a carriage return and everything else. The way we used to do this is we would type, and then we'd hear a ding, and then when we heard that ding, it would tell us we're getting to the end of the line, and we would have to figure out where we're going to break this line up so we can hit the carriage return and roll the paper up to start a new line. You don't have to do this with Word. Word does it automatically. It will automatically break the text and scroll down to the next line. So you don't have to hit enter at the end of every line. You just hit enter at the end of every paragraph. Okay, so there's that, and then down here it looks like I have a whole line of spaces, and then these are tabs. I just hit tabs a billion times. So now here's the thing. I'm going to get you a little bit of insight on the way when you do your practical test, the way that I grade this stuff. It's really simple. I'm going to tell you to do something like center surfs up. So when I look at it, I'm going to see something like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on, and if I see this bunch of spaces, that lets me know that you did this wrong. That's not what I want to see. I want to see that this thing is centered. Here's how it would look if I actually centered it. I'm going to make all of these go away, delete. Now I'm just going to take this paragraph and center it. Show hide still on. You see there's nothing over here. This is just centered. I can just tell now that this is centered. This, I wanted a first line indent on this paragraph, so I can click delete on this, and then I could create my first line indent like that. And again, we're going to learn how to do this, especially when we get into Module 2. And all of this is just garbage. Now let me show you one of the things that we're going to have to do a lot is select. Now there's different ways of selecting things. Like if I wanted to select this paragraph, like learn all the way to school, I could just hold my mouse from the beginning and then drag to the end. So I just kind of like drug in a down and to the right. Now I could also drag up and to the left, and it would do the same thing. But that's the way I would select, like if I wanted a certain area of text. If I just wanted to say if I just wanted to select on the waves, I could just go over here, and before the O, I could select O and then drag it to where I selected that. Now once I have that selected, anything that I do is going to affect just what I have selected. Okay. Now, an easier way, if I wanted to select like a word, so let's just suppose I wanted to select the word instruction. I can double click the word, just double click on that word, and it's going to select that for me. If I wanted to select an entire paragraph, so again, rather than dragging like this, like I did before, if I wanted to select this entire paragraph, another easier way to do it would be for me to triple click somewhere inside of that paragraph. And that's just triple clicking on the left mouse button. And it's going to select that entire paragraph for you. But remember, if you're doing paragraph formatting, you don't necessarily have to select that paragraph. You need to select. You just need to have your insertion point somewhere in it, and it's going to do this. And here's an example. Let's suppose I wanted to double space this paragraph. Double spacing is a paragraph formatting. My insertion point is somewhere in the middle of the word improve. So what I can do is I can go up here, and here's my spacing, and I say I want this thing to be double spacing, and you can see it's now double spaced instead of single spaced. We'll make that go back. If I want to select multiple lines, or let me change this. If I want to select a line of text, like let's just suppose I wanted to select, award-winning surf school. I just want to select just this line, not the line before it, just this one line here. See how my mouse is this eye, and I got these tails following me, just so hopefully it's easier to see. But now my mouse looks like an eye. If I move my mouse over here into the margin, my mouse will change from an eye to an arrow. And when my mouse becomes this arrow, when I click in that margin, it's going to select the line of text next to it. Like watch down here below. I'm going to select photo, photo and video packages. It's going to go into the margin and select next to it. Now I can also select multiple lines of text this way. I can hold my mouse button down and drag down, and it's going to select like all 3 lines of text, and we'll do this in a second. Let me get rid of all of this. Delete. So that's kind of an intro to where we need to get started on Word. So I'll be back in a little bit, and we'll actually start in Module 1 and start creating this flyer. So have a good one. We'll talk to you in a bit.